Women, this is for you. I'm encouraging you to embrace your humanness. All of it. All of it, all of it, all of it. So I want to share something deeply personal. Today is going to be a couch day. And I don't have very many of those. But today I'm really struggling with horrible menstrual cramps and a headache. And my body is calling me to rest. And I think it's very, 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 very important that we listen to our bodies. Now, in our community, there is this paradigm of all or nothing thinking. There is this problem that people have with really knowing when to rest and when to push and when to go. This is one of the things that I teach in my program because years of diet mentality and diet culture have thwarted, have undermined our ability to tune into our bodies and listen to our bodies. And the problem with that is that after years of diet mentality and diet culture, we get into one or the other. We get into the manipulation, the negotiation, the BS self-talk of, I don't want to, I don't feel like it. And it's not a true notion or understanding of when you really need to pull yourself or hold yourself back and rest and allow and chill. Similarly, there is a concept that people read into about force and pushing and go, go, go. And these two paradigms are cyclical, not just for women either, although women can understand them more so with the menstrual cycle, but men too. If you don't know how to trust yourself, if you don't know when it's time to go, when it's go time, and when it's time to rest, you may have the potential of the fundamentals of lying to yourself, negotiation, right? So it's kind of like you're negotiating in your head with, should I, could I, do I want to, do I feel like it? And you're not acting in your own best interest, potentially, right? So this is where we really, really, really have to have a strong understanding of ourselves, not just for overcoming diet culture and for the weight loss surgery journey, but also for overall health, right? Because I think that is what is so important. And here's the thing, I have zero stress about laying around today because I know I have healthy food in my fridge and in my freezer that are going to make for an easy meal prep week. But in no way did I say earlier this week, am I going to feel like crap on Sunday? No, but that's part of the cycle too, is getting prepped when you feel good, when you feel strong, when you feel that you have that game on mentality, so that when you're really tired, you're spent, right? That you can take advantage of that time, that it's in your best interest. That said, earlier this week, I thought I was going crazy because of memory stuff. And I know because of my age, I'm getting closer to menopause, clearly, because I'm telling you, TMI, that I'm on my period, that I'm not there yet. But the hormonal changes that we go through are real. And I was witnessing them this week, and witnessing. There was one day I forgot to send an email. There was another day that I had forgotten something else. I did a whole workout, didn't set my Apple Watch. Like, they're just a series of things that I was like, what is going on with me? This is not me. And then it was like PMS. And it was like a PMS like I'd never had before. I wasn't cranky. It was just like, where did my brain go? And I had to take a step back along with those closest around me, right? My team. And it's like, Grace. Like, so even though I'm sitting here, right? And you guys know me who you know me to be, I still have people in my circle telling me to give myself grace, right? As a reminder to me, absolutely, because I'm human. I'm human, and you're human, and we're all human. And I want to normalize where people have this assumption. So now I'm going on a different tangent here, but this is just as purposeful. Where we see people who might be influencers or who might have a series of letters before or after their name, you need to remind yourself that they are human, that they are just like you. They eat food and they poop. Like, they are human, and they are capable of making mistakes. We are all capable of making mistakes. We try not to. We try, I know I try to live in integrity and to live in trust with myself and others. But that does not absolve me from my humanness or from making mistakes, right? So why I say this is, when I first had finished my master's and got into counseling, I remember having a client come in my office who was the CEO of a major corporation. And because of where I was, still under supervision hours, not even fully licensed at the time, had so much intimidation over this person for what he did, for who he was in his life, for the status that he held, that when I look back on that, I was like, was I actually fully in service of his needs, or was I people pleasing, right? And this was like, 15, 17 years ago. Like, it's a long time ago, right? But I bring this up because we look at people based on how much money they have. We look at people based on their career growth. We look at people if they are a surgeon, physician, physician's assistant, nurse, psychologist, whatever, right? You look at someone based on famous people, right? There's a whole lot of like what I call famous people worship that shows up. They're human. They're human. And I think sometimes people look at others and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. Or I can't believe that they're struggling. Why? They're human. I think that when we look at others, we see ourselves different. We see ourselves as separate, or we see ourselves as less than versus equal to, right? And it's the same problem. It's a different idea. It's a different problem, but it's the same thing that can happen within diet culture and putting food on a pedestal. What people do you put on a pedestal because of what they've achieved, because of what they've done, because of what they've gone through? They're human. They're human. You're human. And we pride ourselves on choices, right? Which is true. In order to create a better tomorrow and in order to create better health, we have to make the choices that are in alignment with that type of growth. So when we look at others who have made those choices, what skills do they have? What tools do they have? What support do they have? What is going on within their psychology? We don't know what they're struggling with, and we also don't know what their, let's say, their assets are. And when I say assets, I do not mean financial assets, although that could be part of it, but their assets in terms of the support, the skills, the tools, right? The clarity, what they've gone through, what they haven't gone through, etc., right? So everybody's going to have a different background for that. But when we start to see people and put them on a pedestal and see themselves as better or more worthy or whatever, you're discounting yourself. Because when you see people who are doing things, I want you to say to yourself, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. We may be different in a lot of ways. We may have different life circumstances. We may have different life backgrounds. We may come from different cultures. We may come from different socioeconomic backgrounds. But I want to try to learn how I can do that too. I want to try to learn how I can be the best me, right? But at the same time, now I'm going to circle back. Being the best you isn't hustle mentality, do or die. Being the best you is discernment. It's discerning. It's discerning what is best for you today. And if what's best for you today is getting some rest and sitting on the couch, then you need to do that. And being in integrity with that, not manipulation, not BSing yourself, not lying to yourself. It's discernment. And there are going to be times where you don't want to get up. You're not going to feel like getting up. But it has nothing to do with you not feeling good. It has to do with the BS beliefs that are in your head. It has to do with the discomfort that you don't want to lean in to it. It has to do with your comfort zone. Those are the days that you need to be like, listen, self, we're not going to get anywhere if we just stay in the cycle. We got to get up and do something. But that comes from a cultivation of self-talk. That comes from inner wisdom, inner knowing, and practice. That comes from not just listening to the inner voice, but also creating an inner encourager. Because if the only thing you've got in here is an inner critic, if the only thing that you've got in here is a little B or an A, you know what I mean, that says, you're not going to do anything. You're a loser. You're not going to be able to achieve that. Who the hell do you think you are? If that's the voice that is primary in here, and that's the voice you're listening to, if that's your greatest influence, this has to change. That voice has to change. You need an inner encourager. You need, some people say angel, devil on your shoulder and stuff like that. If you want to use that concept, fine. You need that encourager that says, that's not true. You need the encourager that says, I believe in you. I've always believed in you. Right? So again, this isn't just about weight loss. This is about your future. This is about health. This could be about your career growth. This could be about your alignment of your power, your purpose. This could be about relationships. This could be about owning your truth and your power in terms of the type of relationships you're in or the type of relationships you want to be in. This could have to do with, how often people use you and how often you allow it to happen versus you being in integrity and saying, hey, I love you and I want to help you, and I got to put myself first. I got to put myself first. And that can be scary. It can be scary to build up your inner encourager. It can be scary to challenge status quo. It can be scary to believe you're worthy if you've spent years believing that you're not. So this was meant to kind of come on to show you the humanness, right? And to share with you that we're all human and we're all going to have bad days. And none of us are immune to bad days. So when I see these posts that are like, I don't want to be strong, I don't want to be resilient, oh my gosh, there are days where we don't, right? But if you're constantly living in survival mode, right, we do have to look at how can you, right? We have to come back to ourselves. How can I get out of this? Because if we are making choices that perpetuate that cycle, we can also make choices to not perpetuate that cycle, right? So we've got to look at, what are my choices? What are my choices? And if you're constantly in a state of survival, I'm not saying that it hasn't been circumstantial, right? We all have circumstances, right? And with those circumstances, we are all given opportunities to shift out of it. Sometimes it takes creativity, like creative mindset. Sometimes it takes asking for help, right? Asking help from others. And in our community, we have a lot of givers who struggle with receiving. But friends, you got to receive. It's a flow. Receiving and giving, are two sides of the same coin. And that's part of our humanness, right? So the same thing, go is one side, sitting and resting, let's say, is another side, two sides of the same coin, right? But if we only see them in the terms of a binary, meaning, good, bad, right, wrong, go sit or don't do anything. If we only see things from a binary, then we're going to get stuck in that all or nothing paradigm. And this is where the shades of gray in life are necessary, right? We've got to get out of the binary bias. And what I mean by this is the bias that if you have a cookie, you're bad, or that if you eat chicken, that you're good. That is not what's, that is not the totality of life experience. There's a whole lot of gray that you're missing in here. So I encourage you to look for the gray. I also encourage you to look for your inner encourager and for that voice that is there, that's got your back, that's going to tell you, you know what, you can do this. And let's just start here. Let's start with this small step. Let's start by taking this one action and start practicing radical honesty with yourself. And if you don't know how to do that, that's where you've got to get the support. So was not my intention to come on here and say today's the last day, but it is the last day. So if you're wanting to join my group coaching program, 6 months, that's another thing. All my emails finished yesterday. And so I'm grateful for myself that I did it when I had more energy. So we've got to look at our own patterns. And if you're constantly, unintentionally, right? Because this is not intentional. If you're unintentionally constantly feeling like you've got the short end of the stick with regards to life or energy or time, you've got to look at what you're doing to create that in your life. Because let me tell you, I do the same thing. I look at, okay, XYZ happened. Where did I create that? Now, did I create menstrual cramps? Did I create a headache? No. But what I did do is I created a reality from making choices yesterday that are giving me the opportunity to rest today. because as somebody with ADHD, I can procrastinate like the best of them. So that's where I made the choice to say, hey, this is what I've got to do. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. What are the choices that you're making? Are they supporting you, or are they creating more hardship for you? Right? Now, this is where reflection is needed. This is where looking within yourself, within your patterns, is necessary, right? So that's how we create change. I saw a post, and I'm not doing therapy anymore. This isn't therapy that I'm doing, but I saw a post that was about therapy, and it said, you can go to therapy for years, but if you're not self-reflecting on your patterns, if you're not noticing what's showing up in your reality, nothing's going to change. And the same thing is true for coaching. You can get coached, but if you're not making even the smallest of changes to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, to get uncomfortable, to reflect on what's showing up in your life, then what are the results that you're going to get, right? So here's the thing. I'm not asking for anybody to go from 0 to a 10, but that's what a lot of people think, that they have to go to 0 to 10 really quick. No, not at all. Similarly, when people are at, let's say, 0, where there's not much growth and they're scared, 0's safe, right? But 10 seems scary. But 1 or 2 or 3 seems like, well, that's not good enough, or that's not fast enough, right? But when you try to go to a 10, you get overwhelmed, you overdo it. You do that for one day, but you're not creating any change because you just overwhelmed yourself, you overdid it, and now you're stuck. So that's what I mean by all or nothing, right? You've got to get in alignment with the small steps that are doable within your daily life, within your day-to-day. Because I know that there's somebody out there that's like, how in the heck am I going to make changes? When I have a family, like, I know there's somebody out there who's like, I'm a single mom, I'm working 12-hour days, and I'm dead, right? There are changes you can make that aren't going to deplete you. I know, because that's the place that people go, is how can I give any more? But when you give to yourself, you're pouring back into you. It's a form of regeneration. But the thought that you have to give it away, the thought that you have to give more, is depleting, right? It's like, how can I possibly do more? It's not about doing more. Again, it's about smarter, not harder. So again, when the mindset is and not necessarily that person is at a 0, but they're at this place of, for me to be at a 10, to give to myself, and they're at a 0, it becomes a struggle mentally to go, how, almost combative, almost aggressive, right? That somebody can get to, because there's this defensiveness of, I'm already doing everything I possibly can. Not necessarily. And that is not a judgment. It's that oftentimes we are defensive because we are so exhausted, and that there can be little tweaks and things like that where if somebody is sabotaging themselves, it's not conscious, and it's not criticism or judgment to recognize the sabotage. It's wholly, WHOLLE, not holy as in spiritual, but like, it's wholly compassionate to be able to say, and to be able to reflect and say, where am I messing up? I know I don't want to be messing up, but damn, this is hard. This is hard. And that acknowledges the humanness. But if you're out there Wonder Woman in it, and then depleted, and then angry and aggressive, because you're like, how could I possibly give more? You're not going to be open to seeing where you can shift. You're not being open to forgiving, to being kind, to being compassionate to yourself, because you're busy punishing yourself for where you're not, instead of honoring and being in kindness. And I'm going to use the word love, but what I mean is really being in a place of honoring and understanding where you are. If you can't hold that space for yourself, the cycle that you're in is antagonistic. And so you are going to do things that are self-punitive, that are self-betrayal, that are self-denial. So I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. You do not have to be your own enemy. So you always have choices, even when you don't think you do, and even when it's hard, and even when you have sucky days. So it's important that we start to learn how to self-validate, that we don't have to go balls to the wall all the time, and that it is okay to rest. But if you're in a pattern of manipulation, lying, negotiation, and not in integrity or truth with yourself, then you're probably going to still punish yourself, and you're probably going to still be inside of the control cycle, right? This isn't about control. It's not about control. We want to control because we want certainty. But life isn't certain, my loves. It is so not certain. So what we need to do is embrace what is and start to recognize what is and allow the ebbs and flows of life. But if you're holding on, if you're white knuckling it, if you're holding on like this so tightly, it's very difficult to open your hands to receive the wisdom, the knowledge, the creative ideas to create the change that you want to create. So, even if my group is not for you in the next 6 months, I want you to come back and listen to this again. I want you to come back and listen and think about your humanness. I want you to think about where you're holding on really tight and you're not getting the results that you want. And I want you to think about how frequently you lie to yourself about food and promises and starting Monday. I want you to think about how you have guilt for when you do sit on the couch. Zero guilt. I have zero guilt. I am here. I know I am here. And I am embracing that I'm here, and I'm making that choice from a place of love and compassion for myself. And that is why I came on here, because I want you, every single one of you, to be able to do that in full integrity with yourself. And I also want for you guys to push yourselves to hustle and go when it's appropriate for yourselves. I want for you to live in integrity, not in the same way, because everybody's different, because everybody's choices are going to be different, everybody's lifestyle is going to be different. But from the very foundation, my wish for every single one of you is that you are in integrity with yourselves, that you are living in truth and honesty with yourselves, whatever that means. Whatever that means. And that the choices you make that you're proud of, whether you're sitting on the couch or whether you're running a race, whether you're eating a chocolate lava cake or whether you're having some grilled chicken and some veggies. When you are in integrity and when you are honoring yourself, there isn't guilt because you're not doing anything wrong. And that's the beauty of this all, is if you think that eating chocolate lava cake is wrong, it goes back to diet culture. And it goes back to so much other stuff, body image, because it's part of life. It's part of life, and we're going to have ups and downs, right? So this is where we've got to build a new mindset. We've got to create a new embodiment cycle, and we have to pay attention to our energy levels. Okay, I'm going to go rest, sending you love and light. If you want to know more about the group coaching program, feel free to check it out. I'm sharing some links if you want to know about my GTS membership, which will have ongoing enrollment. But for this round of group coaching, you will get 6 months of the GTS included, $325 value. So if that interests you, doors are closing tonight. Happy Super Bowl. Enjoy your weekend. And if you have questions, go ahead and send me a DM. Love you guys. Bye.